4, 3, 2, 1.
Say kids, what time is it?
You're something else.
You know, it's difficult to have just the one, but if I had to say, my personal vibe is to be a part of the community, to be a part of the people, to be with everyone else. Truly and honestly, I would say for the last 6 years or so, and the story of that is real simple. In our quest of business, we had opened up locations, of course, in Winnipeg and Ottawa and Montreal. After the Montreal location, where I'd been outside of Winnipeg for about 4 or 5 years, I came back to Winnipeg. And when I was back after 5 years, I have to be honest that I felt a certain disconnect from Winnipeg and the people that were in and around town and who was doing what and what was going on. And I really yearned, I really wanted to be a part of that community again. And giving back to the community, participating in the community, getting involved in things that mattered, you know, that vibe, that's what brought me closer back to the city. I'd have to say it was just right about that time, as I tried to reintegrate back into Winnipeg. Well, there's two things that happened. I mean, yes, of course, I was reintegrating back into Winnipeg by participating in different community events, but I was also finding that this was giving me a personal sense of satisfaction and joy, and at the same time, it was producing the same in other people around me as well. And I have to say that that is a extremely fulfilling place to be as a person. You know, I want it to be good. I want the city to prosper. I want people around us to feel and do good for the city and the province, you know, and ultimately, of course, Canada. And we've got so many methods and modes that we can go ahead and produce that. For me, it was, you know, through charity, you know, and I'm happy to say we've generated, you know, almost $80,000 for charity here in Manitoba, and that's in the last 5 years alone. So, you know, have we contributed? You bet. Has it made a lot of people feel real good about being here? Absolutely. And is it an absolute sign of a vibe? Sure it is. Are you feeling my vibe?
So Sach, we're here, you're at the East Indian Company, and I mean, first of all, this is a beautiful joint.
Thank you very much.
I love what I see. I mean, it's put together really nice. I really feel like a part of India when I'm here.
You're very kind.
Yes.
That's the idea. Thank you.
Yes, very nice. So tell me a little bit about the backdrop story. We know Sach, the restaurant owner. We also know Sach, the businessman, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Right.
But let's hear about Sach, the man. Where did this humble beginning start from?
You know, it's, I mean, I think it's a common story, one that's been repeated around Canada and Manitoba and Winnipeg time and again. And I'm a first-generation immigrant, so my mom and dad and my grandmom arrived in Canada, in Winnipeg, you know, about the early 70s or so, and started about setting up a life for themselves. Right. And, you know, all through different trial and error, they landed up in the restaurant business, and we opened up the first, and when I say we, I mean our family opened up the first Indian restaurant in about the early 70s. Mm-hmm. Since then, you know, my earliest memories are of being a part of that restaurant business. You know, some children have ideas of playing in a park somewhere, you know, in their adolescence. My earliest memories are driving my big plastic tricycle around the dining room tables of the restaurant when there weren't any customers there. Right. You know, so those are my memories, and that's really kind of what's led to a lot of build-up that makes me, and you know, working inside, working with your hands, working with your customers, and seeing what's going on out there. And part of all of that is being with your family. Yeah. I'm with my mom and dad, you know, almost 24/7 at this point, right. You know, since I was born. And I have to say, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is.
I do enjoy that.
So now, you started a company here, a restaurant here, which the food is just amazing.
Thank you.
And you have another one in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Which one came first, and how do you juggle the two?
Certainly. So, you know, we're a culmination of 42 years and 3 generations worth of East Indian restaurant in Winnipeg.
Wow.
We've been here for those 42 years. We're the highest rated restaurant in Winnipeg, Manitoba history, family run. That is to say, we've been 5 stars continuously, and we've been under one ownership for those 42 years. That's the Mehra family.
Right.
So we're very proud of that. We've got the other location, as you mentioned, out in Ottawa as well.
Right.
My 2 brothers are out there. Part of the secret is we're a family affair.
Right.
So, you know, mom and dad are here, son number 1 is here, we've got 2 brothers out in Ottawa as well, my sister's in and out of this, we're all going to be here. You're never going to walk into an East India company and not see a member
Right.
of, you know, the Mehra family.
And that's the truth. That is the truth.
And so that's the reality, and that's what makes it good. You know, we will go to each and every table and make sure that everything is 100%, and make sure everybody's having a really good time. You know, and lastly, that really speaks back to Winnipeg. You know, when I say 42 years, you got to think about that, right? In the
Yeah.
sense that here we are, a little East Indian family, setting up an Indian restaurant, an ethnic restaurant in the
Yeah.
middle of Canada,
Yeah.
quite literally. And it finds, not only does it find traction, but it finds success.
Right.
And so that speaks, I think, not only to, you know, Canada in general, but really to Winnipeggers as well, that this is a community that is going to support diversity. This is
Yeah.
a community that's going to support success in others, and really foster that. And that's what we've seen over the last 42 years. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it's amazing how Winnipeg embraces overall talent than it does some of those stigmas that are out there about it.
You know, I mean, and this is true of almost any sector, but when you consider the food sector,
Right.
you know, the ratio is in Winnipeg that for every night for dinner, there's 138,000 seats available for dinner for a population of roughly 700,000 people.
Right,
So
right.
when you work that out, that's a little less than 1 in 7.
Right, right.
That's phenomenal.
Right, that's phenomenal.
And so you're right. I mean, not only will it support you know, entrepreneurs, but it'll really support success.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. And so if there's talent out there, you're going to bet 100% that Winnipeg's going to get behind it.
So let's talk about entrepreneurs. Let's switch gears a little bit. You are an entrepreneur doing your thing in Winnipeg, and you're in the downtown area, which is the hub for Winnipeg, and we're seeing a growth and a change. Can you allude to that over the 42 years and how many years you've been here and
Sure.
seeing the growth of
Sure.
downtown Winnipeg?
And we'll rewind a little bit. And,
Yeah.
you know, back in 1993 when we opened up over
Right.
here, well, just before we had opened up, you know, we had this idea. And I was straight out of high school at that point. And my mom and dad and I, we sat down and we said, well, you know, let's do something big.
Right.
Let's, you know, and up until that point, you know, the whole idea of an East Indian restaurant had been, you know, a 30 or 40 or 50 seat place, kind of out of the way and, you know, run by mom and pop.
Right.
So this whole idea of a full run, mainstream East Indian restaurant just really hadn't existed in the lexicon of Canadian business. And
It's innovation, really.
it really was.
Yeah.
And so we decided we'd do that. And so we thought, what better place than downtown Winnipeg? And downtowns are wonderful. Why? They're high density, they're high vibrancy, and so that's where you really want to go to try what you've got. And
Right.
you know, I would encourage any entrepreneurs that are out there that if you've got a retail idea to float, your best bet for it is
Yeah.
probably in a downtown, doesn't matter which city.
Right.
So, back to the story, in 1993, we decided we were going to do this, and we were full of energy, and so on and so forth, and we went down to the Business Development Bank of Canada, and we said, we want to open a small or large East Indian restaurant in downtown Winnipeg, and they said to us, thank you, but no thank you.
Right, right, of course,
And,
yeah.
and no, exactly, so that was the idea, and that was fine, because, you know, we were approaching it, you know, the way we'd always approach these things,
Yeah.
and that is to say that, you know, from a small business level and a family-run establishment, that's how we're coming at it. But what they really wanted to see was they wanted to start seeing business plans and projections and,
Right.
and that whole aspect of the other side of the business when you get really big like that.
Right.
And that's something that we had to learn, and so we did. And we went back to the Royal Bank with that. We had a full business plan. I think at that time it was about 46 pages long,
Oh,
you
wow.
know, including 5-year projections of what we were going to do down here and how it was going to be a success and so on and so forth. And most importantly for the bank, how we were going to pay them back.
Right, right,
And
of course.
you know, it went very well. It's been almost 20 years now that we've been here, and we've got, you know, a couple of different locations in Canada. We're very happy, and I would argue to say that we're among the best in town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what-
for sure, for sure. Now, let's talk about your many business ventures.
Right.
you have the restaurant, but we also know that you are on very many groups,
right?
And you're doing a lot with Downtown Biz, and you're doing a lot with other groups. Can we talk about that a little bit more and see what it is, what's next out here? What has your ear heard?
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier that I'd spent some time out in Montreal.
Right.
And when I'd come back to Winnipeg, there was really a want for me to reconnect back into Winnipeg. And one of the things I had done was, of course, set up the Masala Mixer charity event, which is every year. We make almost $10,000 or $12,000 everywhere. And I'm proud to say it's a 100% in-out event, which means every single red penny that comes in goes straight back out to the charity that we're supporting. So as the East India Company, thank you, we're very proud to support that. But another way that to reconnect was to sit with different boards. And one of the boards that I sat with or had the opportunity to sit with was the Downtown Biz Board. And I have to tell you, it is one of the most professional and well-run boards that I've ever come across. And they've really got a great mandate and a keen focus on driving growth and vibrancy back to our downtown, which, Troy, I don't have to tell you, is very important.
Right. I want to talk about social media and its necessity.
Yes.
We're seeing, obviously we've seen the Facebooks and all the chats that you can imagine come up and pop up, the Twitters and all that. How do we, as young professionals, gather together and create that interpersonal relationship while still using that media networking and come together around, maybe a singular or a couple of singular ideas in order to create bigger business for Winnipeg and what that means for Winnipeg for this new generation?
So you've got a few questions.
I got a few questions.
You've got a few questions there, and I'll try to answer as best I can. But in a single word, and one of your questions caught me was, how do you leverage that? If I'm going to paraphrase your question, how do I, as a new business person, leverage that social media so that I now have access to all that? Because you're right. Let's face it. I'm not going to start up a Facebook page and all of a sudden proclaim that I'm part of social media. So the single word is partnerships. And you need that. So I'll give you a great example. Downtown Peggy, who is the marketing maven or the Twitter person for Downtown Biz, has something around the neighborhood of 5,000 odd followers. Now, somebody who's getting into the Twitter world for the first time and wants to draw a little bit of attention to their site or themselves or their business has only to include Downtown Peggy in their hash and thereby at least get her on the same page as what's going on with you, and then get a retweet potentially out to 5,000 other followers. And that's free. And that's a great way. Where does it necessarily fit into the hospitality industry? Where does it fit into other different industries? I mean, everybody's an expert in their own particular genre. I know for us at the East India Company, we've got not only a Facebook page, but we run a Twitter account at East India Co. I run one for myself personally, Sachit Mehra, at Sachit Mehra. And, I find that people want to have these days direct access and direct relationships with products and services that they have. And that's phenomenal when you think about it, because never before in the history have we ever been able to tweet directly to Sylvester Stallone, and just say, hey Sly, how's it going? Or hey Sachit Mehra, what's on at the East India Company tonight? And you will get a reply. That's phenomenal. And so that's the magic of it. But being able to access that group, first of all, is through partnerships.
And it's groundwork, You have to do the work so that they know your name.
Just like anything in life, I mean, once and like I mentioned back when I came back from Montreal, and reconnecting to this group was essentially restarting all these partnerships and reconnecting back into that community, so that when I did have something, or the restaurant did have something, it was easy to let a whole whack of people know all at once and have that work. That's right.
So now, looking forward, what are some of the plans for East Indian Company? What more could you possibly do?
So I think, the community, not only the Indo-Canadian community, but also the Winnipeg and Manitoba community in general are growing. What does that mean? Does that mean more restaurants? Does it mean more diverse styles of businesses that link back to what we do over here? I think the soft answer to both of those is maybe. I'll tell you, people often ask us, you know, when they walk inside the restaurant, hey, you guys in the restaurant business, and you've all got smiles on your faces and everything's fantastic. And, you know, I often say to people, well, for us, this is not necessarily a business.
Right.
For us, this is what we do.
Right. Right.
And so there's a difference.
What you love to do.
What we love to do.
Right.
And so we
Right.
come in the morning, and yeah, we got smiles on our faces because, you know, we're at work, and it's all good.
Yeah.
You know, I talk to people like you, and I
Yeah.
meet new people like your cameraman over
Right,
there,
right.
who's got a big smile on his face.
Right.
And that's fantastic. And so that makes it very easy to go day to day. Would I necessarily want to change that equation and add a whole whack of different stuff to that equation? I don't necessarily know. But there's always stuff out there.
You know, it's interesting. I often say you could try to be the next somebody, and you could have competition in what somebody else is doing, but nobody could beat you at being you.
Correct. And that's 100% right.
Yeah, and that's what it is I love about you, Sach.
Oh, you're very
Nobody
kind.
can beat you at being you.
You can come every day and keep saying that, and I will buy you a beer, Troy. that is
Well,
terrific.
you might have to buy me a little bit more.
Absolutely, for sure.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to see what you've done and your service back to the community. I think it's uncanny for business people, and it may be the growing norm now. It wasn't always like that before. You know, you look at business people, the stereotypical thing is they're shrewd and they're just into their own thing. But now you're finding that business people are really what makes the community grow, and they understand that giving back and building their community and around their community is the best way to do that. It grows business.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
And again, when you find businesses that not only love to be businesses, but love to be doing what it is that they're doing,
Yeah.
those are some great businesses to
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I have to say, as a restaurant, we buy our products locally.
Oh, that's good.
You know,
Yeah.
and that is fantastic. You know, we're organic where we can be. Our stuff comes in fresh 3 times a week, whether it's
Good.
poultry or red meat or vegetables. We're still one of the very few, if not only, restaurant in Winnipeg that we make our own cheese, we make our own
Wow.
our own sauces, we make our own yogurt, we blend our own spices, and we sauce our own tomatoes 3
Wow.
times a week. In fact, you know, some days it's my mom inside the kitchen blending the spices, just as we always have for the last 40 years. And the only reason I'm not doing it, and she won't tell me the recipe yet.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
It's hanging on.
Yeah, she is hanging on, absolutely, for sure.
But that's good. You know, if we start looking back at where you've come from, where you are now, and we look at the successes in between, what is the one thing that you want to pursue and want to do more of?
And if, I mean, purely on a you know, conjecture basis
Yeah.
here, if I was speculating on you know, things that have made me really happy, and it's great that, you know, how you started this conversation with
Yeah.
what's my vibe, and I know
Yeah.
you do that with other people as
Right.
well. I have to say that, I mean, the restaurant, I love it, and it makes me happy, and if I have found another joy in the last 5-6 years by doing the masala mixer and sitting on various boards, is that I've really found joy in working with people,
Yeah.
in different people, you know, whether it's, you know, Indian Canadian community, whether it's a business community, whether it's a regular community, whether it's a political community, whether it's all these different and diverse communities, and putting them together and making different things happen in and around Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I have to say, I really enjoyed that. I found it challenging, but I found it so fulfilling
Yeah.
in the last 5 and 6 years that really I haven't found an equal yet.
You know, the greatest thing about people that I find is when the stars and the moon and the sun are in line, everybody feels great.
Right.
The only trouble is that sometimes they're not aligned the way you need them
Sure.
to be for something magical to happen.
Right.
You know?
Right, and you're 100% right, and then that's where all the old sayings kick in, where it says, you know, hang in,
Yeah.
stick in there,
Yeah,
and so on and
yeah,
so forth.
yeah.
Because, you know, by rights, if you keep doing what you want to do and you love that thing, chances are that they will connect with you one day. And you know, we're seeing this all over. You mentioned this a little bit earlier as well, in the sense that that a lot of businesses are coming to the forefront. I would argue that not only a lot of businesses now coming to the forefront, but you're seeing a lot of people from the community all over coming to the forefront.
Yeah. And
And that's not necessarily only the Indo-Canadian community, although we have some leaders that we've seen in the Indo-community come forward as well, but you see it from all over, and certainly, you know, Winnipeg is having a groundswell of these
Yeah.
people participating,
Yeah.
and I have to say that's really fulfilling.
people.
Yeah.
People helping people. That's the true essence of it all. I would like to say, how are you with other business communities into downtown? How are you guys all networking together? And maybe we'll almost close it there, but how are you guys all networking and making that whole people helping people kind of go forward?
Okay, so there's not only just one way where
Right.
downtown businesses get together to help themselves. There's a multitude of different ways. The challenge sometimes remains in how do you keep the level of communication high enough so that everybody's on the same page at the
Right.
same time. There's a lot of different things that are important to, not only downtown in Winnipeg, but downtowns across Canada and North America. And certainly, some themes jump to mind, and that's vibrancy, transportation,
Yeah.
density,
Right,
diversity
right.
Of business. And when you find when you can put some of those people, some of those things together, and those people and those places and those situations together, you find you start having really successful downtowns. And I do want to talk about that as well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
People mentioned when the MTS Center was happening that this would solve a lot of the woes that were here in downtown Winnipeg. Well, the reality is that no one single structure or facility, no matter how great it is,
Right.
and the MTS Center and indeed the Jets have been phenomenal,
Right.
don't get me wrong, but no one thing is a solution unto itself. Instead, it's a partnership, it's people working together that are solutions unto themselves.
Right.
So what does that mean? That means once you've got things like the MTS Center happening, you've got a potentially expanded convention center happening here, you've got the Human Rights Museum happening there,
Right.
the Shed Entertainment District happening there with new hotels, you've got increased downtown living happening as well, new small and medium retail
Yeah.
opening up, new office structure. So if you follow the picture that I'm painting, you've got these different points of light, if you will, on
Yeah.
a backdrop,
Yeah.
all happening down to Winnipeg, and you start connecting the dots. You're going to have people that are going to be moving about. You're going to be having them spending money, living,
Right.
participating,
Right.
and that creates a vibrancy, and it leads towards safer feeling. It leads
Exactly.
towards more
Yeah.
fulfilled people,
Yeah.
and that's how that all starts working. So it is a partnership at the end of the day, and people do have to really come together. Is it happening? I have to say that I think this is going to air sometime in August. You were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
At this point, I do feel that it's coming.
Right.
It's coming together slowly,
Right.
and we're going to be there. But I have to say, in my 20 years of being here in downtown Winnipeg, at no point in the past have I felt as confident as I do today about those things finally meeting together for us here in Winnipeg.
That's amazing. What sentiment airs to that? Why is that happening now? Why the essence?
Okay, so obviously we know that the Jets are back, the
Right.
MTS Center is happening, and I think that's been a great precursor to success. It's really shown Winnipeggers and Manitobans that we can do it. We have the energy, we've got the economic diversity to make this happen. By the same charge, the Human Rights Museum's been coming up now for
Yeah,
the last couple of
right.
years and is slated to finish in the next little while as well. And I think that's going to be the next thing. The Human Rights Museum is a type of facility that some people don't appreciate in its entirety.
Right.
There's not a facility that exists like this outside of Ottawa in terms of its scope. This is really a
Well, it really
jewel.
rivals with the world, really.
And you're 100% right.
Yeah.
This is a jewel for Western Canada,
Right.
and it's here in downtown Winnipeg.
Right.
This will generate a huge amount of tourism,
Yeah.
business tourism,
Yeah.
MNC business, education tourism, and travel tourism.
That's
These
right.
are all different kinds.
Right.
And this is going to happen. And there'll be lots of different businesses that are going to benefit from that. When the expanded convention center comes to fruition as well, you're going to see an ability for Winnipeg to not only be able to cater to its current MNC business, but to be able to cater to MNC business that's meeting and convention business
Right.
that we've never before seen.
Right.
And so that's very exciting as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different stuff that's happening, and I think Winnipeggers and Manitobans are going to be put back on the map,
Yeah.
where they were 25 years ago
Yeah, yeah.
in the next few years.
That's amazing. Sach,
Yes, sir.
it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's been mine, actually.
Mine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Absolutely.
I just want to say that we're here with Sachit Mehra, and we're at the East Indian Company at 349 York. This man is very passionate about not only a plethora of things, really. His company, his restaurant, which the eatery is just amazing. He's very passionate about people, passionate about giving back to his community, and what that means for creating partnership for the rest of Winnipeg. You can catch Sachit anytime, and I guarantee you're going to see a smile on his face every time you come into his restaurant, because that's just the type of man he is. Thank you. You're watching the Vibe Show.
Thanks, Troy. Awesome. I appreciate that.
Say kids, what time is it?